Welcome back. Today we're going to be reviewing this beautiful little knife, the Spyderco Microjimbo by Michael Janitz. I just recently got my hands on this after waiting almost a year after putting in my pre-order with Blade HQ. Thank you very much. Can you tell that I'm a little bit excited about this one? While I was going through my initial review, I found that there is so much more to the Yojimbo family than I originally knew. I usually also try to avert my eyes because most of the time when I'm looking at new knives, a lot of them are over the 3-inch legal length of Illinois. And then even more so, a lot of them are over the 2.5-inch legal limit of Chicago. Because of this, I only have a few offerings and a few options as far as what choice models I get to go in the instance that I plan on heading down to the city. But I do plan on putting a video together of my top 5 Chicago choice knives, but we'll do that later. So when I saw that this Microjimbo was coming out, I was rather excited by a new challenger in the space, if you will, though it is one of the more premium offerings around there as it comes in at $200. And at the time of recording this, there are quite a few reputable retailers who have both variants in stock, like River's Edge Cutlery, Knife Center, DLT Trading, and a few others, but I'll be sure to include some links below for purchasing in the description. And you can get the satin blade finish for, I think it's $180, roughly speaking, compared to the DLC black coated one. The Yojimbo series of knives comes from Michael Janich, and it started in 1999, from what I recall. Apparently, he was contracted by Spyderco to do some work, and in that process, they talked to him about designing a knife, and he showed him the prototype. The prototype, while it looks a little bit different from the current Yojimbo 2, you could also see how well that Spyderco stayed true to Michael's original concept design. So, if you watch any of the videos around it, you'll hear how Spyderco was kind of like not into it when they originally saw it, but here we are, and now in 2024, the Yojimbo has been out for over 10 years. And in 2021, if I'm not mistaken, they just released the completely blacked out version of the Yojimbo, which with the DLC coded S30V blade. But we're not talking about the Yojimbo 2 today. We're talking about the Microjimbo. Uh, I will say there was another variant, not of the Microjimbo, but of the Yojimbo. That's a very special edition one, and it's called the ChicagoJimbo. It comes by way of 5x5 combat solutions, and bonus info, I reached out to them to see if it was still available when it was listed as back ordered, and they said yes, it is. And on top of that, in the next 3 to 4 weeks, they're expecting another shipment. So I'll also include a link below if you wanted to purchase the ChicagoJimbo, which is basically the original iteration of this Microjimbo. The ChicagoJimbo is a 2.5-inch blade with the original Yojimbo 2 body, but this is the actual 2.5-inch blade in a Microjimbo body. I will say the reason I'm very happy about the ChicagoJimbo still being available is an excellent segue into the first point that I have to make about this one, which is ergonomics. The ergonomics on this knife, I find it's a little bit short for me. Whenever I open it, I keep finding myself choking up here where I'm kind of expecting there to be a front finger choil, and there's almost nothing there. So it's not that I can't put my finger there, but I'm afraid one of these times I might choke up a little too high and end up, cutting my finger a little bit, which wouldn't be the first time, wouldn't be the last time. I own a couple other sub 2.5-inch knives that fit in my hand much better. The one that I would say most closely compares is the Spyderco Little Native, as it's got the same S30V, same G-10 handles, and you could also get it in a Warncliffe variant if you were looking for that as well. While some might ask, why would you get this Microjimbo if it's too small for your hands? And as I discussed before, the Chicago proper has a legal limit of 2.5 inches and or less on the blades. And I'd also say the Microjimbo is an excellent answer for those who have smaller and or more petite hands. Though at least for me, the Little Native fits a little bit better, and I think that's because of the actual chopped out front finger choil. The Microjimbo, though, does not hit my fingertip on closure like the Little Native does, and you'll see here it's not fully closed. That it literally backs up right against the stop pin and the compression lock. So I'll do a close-up of the Microjimbo closing versus the Little Native closing. And beyond trips to the city, I commonly find myself going for smaller knives in the first place. If you will, when I'm picking my EDC, as I'm not trying to scare anybody or draw any extra attention. And when I was doing my review for the Microjimbo, I came upon a Spyderco forums review of the knife itself by a user named Zulu Delta, who apparently has quite a bit of experience with the Yojimbo 2 and just recently picked up the Microjimbo. And I quote, "In addition, I believe that the additional discretion afforded by the Microjimbo is very much worthwhile feature in certain professional and social contexts. As a reasonable knife enthusiast, I think it is important to be considerate of persons who, due to their beliefs, cultural upbringings, and or history of trauma, are legitimately and genuinely uncomfortable around people who carry items that they deem as weapons. I have a few close friends who fall into this group, and I appreciate that some of them have overcome mental and emotional barriers when they spend time socializing with someone they know is carrying a knife. The very least I could do is reciprocate their tolerance and respect for my personal interests is to carry a knife when I'm around them that, by virtue of smaller size, can seem by the uninitiated as falling into the category of tool rather than weapon. The Microjimbo lets me do this without compromising on the Yojimbo 2's design's essential functions or the manual dexterity I've developed with the Yojimbo platform over the years. So, big thanks to Zulu Delta for the review. It was very eloquently put. I appreciate a lot of the notes that was in that review. I'll be sure to link to that directly in the description as well. And I think to that point, even though my Desert Warrior is technically a bigger knife than my Little Native, I'll say the gasps that I get when I bust out my Desert Warrior are quite a bit lower than the ones I get when I bust out the all black Little Native. And I think it's just kind of that tactical feel that people kind of get a little bit uncomfortable around it. So while we've been comparing this Microjimbo to the Little Native and just this Desert Elementum, I also wanted to compare it to a Spyderco Para 3, Kershaw Launch 4, and also the C264GPBK Baby Banter, just so you can kind of get a relative size comparison of all these different knives and how they kind of all stack up against one another. I'm really a big fan of the C264GPBK Baby Banter. It's probably one of my favorite knives, especially in this form factor. But again, I'm going to end up doing a full review of my 5 top Chicago knives. I'll also throw in this full-size Bic so you get an idea of, how that looks compared to the others. But for now, let's go over all of the total specifications of this knife. Overall length, 6.2 inches. Blade length, 2.45 inches. Cutting edge, 2.23 inches. Blade thickness of 0.145 inches. The blade material is CPM S30V, and it's a Wharncliffe flat ground DLC black coated blade. It is a plain edge. There are no serrations, although I'm sure they'll put one out sooner than later that does have some serrations. The handle length is 3.8 inches, black G10, and weighs in at 3 ounces. It offers an ambidextrous tip-up carry, and it offers the, I want to say it's proprietary, but some other people have offered it, the Spidey hole flick open, and along with the compression lock, which is, some have referred to it as a reverse liner lock, but it is definitely more than a reverse liner lock. There's some mechanics that go into that give it a much stronger lockup. To the point where Michael Janich was talking about how much pressure you could actually put down with this Wharncliffe style blade in the Yojimbo family of knives, and that the lockup well exceeds what the human arm is capable of putting down as far as force goes. Would I buy it again? Yeah, I'd say 60-40 yes, but I think that's based more on my preference because of the size of my hands. I'd also say that 60-40 got lower when I found out that 5x5 Solutions does offer the ChicagoJimbo still. You better believe I ordered it, and I'm excited to say that I'm on that batch that should be getting one shipped out within the next month or so, and I'll be doing a review of it. So thanks again to 5x5 for the quick reply. Also, I'll put a link to purchase that in the description below as I stated, and beyond all that, thanks for watching. Carry on.